I somehow very naively thought that the layoffs were going to die down, that the games industry layoffs were now at 21,000, I believe the number is. Intel just laid off another 15,000 people. We're going to get better into the latter half of 2024. And I was wrong, and I punched my microphone. The first video that I made about games industry layoffs was 8 months ago, the 10th of November 2023, and it was about Bungie. How wild that we've come full circle to August 4th, 2024, and we are once again talking about Bungie layoffs. And Game Informer, the magazine, completely shut down. And at the same time, there is a SAG-AFTRA video game strike, which I'm also going to talk about. I don't have a lot left to say about layoffs. We've spoken about them a lot. There is a separate thing that I want to talk about today. The layoffs suck. They continue to suck. It continues to feel useless to say anything. I mean, I gave a whole speech about it at the Game Developers Choice Awards, which is in a room in front of a bunch of video game industry execs.
We've lost people with years of experience who worked hard to make some of the games that have been nominated tonight, but more importantly, we've watched our friends get laid off. We've seen how it impacts their families, their children, sorry, I mean, I love the company. All companies. The stock market is actually the best thing to happen to video games. Okay, that was close.
I've spoken about them on podcasts, on streams. I tweet every time that I can. Like, the fuck else can we say at this point? It sucks. It's really sad. You know, I'm just so sorry to everybody who's lost their jobs. Today, what I want to talk about, this is probably going to be a pretty short video. Well, let me catch you up on the news first, and then talk about the part of this that I keep seeing people talk about that, like, I feel like they just really don't understand, is kind of what I wanted to jump into. Probably going to be a bit of a somber tone. Sorry about that. This is an article from GameSpot written by Tamoor Hussain, and it says, on July 31st, Bungie executive Pete Parsons confirmed the company is cutting around 220 people from several departments. The number represents 17% of its workforce. Further 150 people are reportedly being moved around Sony Interactive Entertainment. Due to rising costs of development and industry shifts, as well as enduring economic conditions, it has become clear that we need to make substantial changes to our cost structure and focus development efforts entirely on Destiny and Marathon, Parsons said. He also indicated that layoffs at every level of Bungie and that most of Bungie's executive or senior leader positions are impacted. As part of the layoff announcement, it was also confirmed that Bungie is working on a brand new game, but it is not Destiny 3 or Payback. Instead, this new sci-fi project will be developed at a new internal studio being set up within PlayStation. This obviously pretty closely follows the release of Destiny 2's The Final Shape expansion, which was super positively received by fans, like genuinely very positively received, which is the biggest thing that I want to talk about today. I've touched about it before. We're going to talk about it again. Even if I recognize I'm speaking to like a minority of people, it still feels like something that should be discussed. The second part, before we dive further into this, is Game Informer is being completely shut down. Game Informer magazine. This one, I mean, look, the Bungie layoffs suck. They sucked before, they suck now. Like I said, I don't know what the fuck else to say. It sucks. What are we doing? The Game Informer one, while obviously traditional media like print magazines have been in a decline for quite some time, Game Informer just holds like such a place in my heart. I worked at EB Games, which is the Australian version of GameStop. I was a Game Informer subscriber for years. I was so excited to get those magazines every single time. And I actually, when I started out in games journalism, I used to be a games journalist like 6+ years ago at this point. Some of the first paid pieces I ever wrote were for print magazines, none of which exist now. I think that Game Informer may have been a pretty pivotal part in what made me realize that I wanted to write about games professionally. And it lasted 33 years. I have a few friends who work for Game Informer, and it seems like none of them knew this was coming. They did not expect this news. And the memo says, after 33 thrilling years of bringing you the latest news, reviews, and insights from the ever-evolving world of gaming, it is with heavy heart that we announce the closure of Game Informer. From the early days of pixelated adventures to today's immersive virtual reality realms, we've been honored to share this incredible journey with you, our loyal readers. While our presses may stop, the passion for gaming that we've cultivated together will continue to live on. Thank you for being part of our epic quest, and may your own gaming adventures never end. This magazine is older than I am, and I don't think that anyone is doing anything like the Game Informer cover story. That Game Informer cover story, you're just having the full cover wrapped in whatever game is about to come out, and it's so exciting to see every time. Such beautiful art, and then a whole feature and a bunch of interviews, and I don't feel like anyone else has really replicated that. IGN has certainly tried. I know that they literally said that they had tried to do that. That's what IGN First was intended to be, but IGN First never felt as cool as the Game Informer cover story, and it's just, it really feels like a really iconic part of video game culture has been lost, especially for people who still go into their GameStop to buy video games and get that magazine every month. It was just really fucking cool. The third part of this, in case you haven't seen it, I will have an interview up with a member of SAG-AFTRA talking about the video game strikes, which are all happening at the same time. Video game actors are striking. That basically means that for any game that has not signed an interim agreement, which a lot have, there will be no more production on video games in voice acting capacities. There are a lot of different things to say about this, but the main holdup is AI protections. SAG-AFTRA is not actually asking to like ban AI. They are just asking for transparency in its use. In theory, to know how it has been used. We don't actually know why, presumably, the publishers are denying the contract negotiations as it currently stands, because as it turns out, again, I have an interview, I'll leave a link in the description below if you want to check that out. It'll be up on my podcast channel. But I didn't know this, that they don't actually negotiate in person. It's basically just like the two separate bodies go through lawyers, and then the lawyers like look at each other's contracts. They don't actually like get in a room and negotiate, which I totally did not know. But all we know is that SAG-AFTRA has been negotiating this for I think almost 2 years and is asking for transparency where AI is concerned, and that is not being permitted. So there will be no more voice acting for video games or performance capture or facial capture or anything else pertaining to a performance in a video game that will be able to be made over the next few months or however long the strikes last. A lot of ways this can go. It could last a really long time. Yes, it will impact almost every single AAA game that you play. A lot of game directors are pro-union from my experience in the games industry. A lot of game developers are pro-union. A lot of game developers are pro-worker. Actually, every single one I have spoken to, including numerous game directors. Literally 100% of them seem to be on the side of SAG-AFTRA. It is the publishers making decisions like this, not your usual game developers. And from my understanding, talking to some people, they don't want to move ahead with non-union actors because they want to respect the workers. But we don't really know how that's going yet. Don't know how it's going to go. You are almost definitely going to see game delays, even though the truth is games can still be made without actors. They could be recorded a little bit later. They have like some more room to shift where game dev is concerned. But the reason I'm talking about these three things in the same one video is just this one thing that I really want to touch on. Let me use this here as an example. So I tweeted this stupid tweet. Felt sucky to even tweet it. Felt like one of those things where it's like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. How it keeps happening, and I always feel compelled to say something, but what's the fucking point? But I said, I really thought we would work through the worst of it, and I did. I'm just so sorry to everyone at Bungie and Game Informer impacted by this week's layoffs. You deserve better, and so do the people who play and read the things you've worked so hard on. This reply, of which I have seen numerous, that they deserve to get laid off, do a better job. I actually had the exact same thing on my post about SAG-AFTRA. I posted on Instagram some photos from a recording session about how I am really thankful that some of the game studios that I have been recording voices for this year have actually already signed the interim agreement, meaning that I still got to record something last week because they already signed the interim agreement, basically saying, yeah, we agree. Sounds like it's not that difficult. But I went to screenshot a comment from this, and it would seem the guy has blocked me, so I can't. You still may be able to find him under my post, but I can't. Effectively shared the same sentiment that was like, well, if actors were good enough, they wouldn't be replaced by AI. That's what happens when you're not good enough at your job. If you're not good enough, you will be replaced. I've seen the same sentiment for Game Informer under my own tweet. Basically this logic that if people were just better at their jobs, they wouldn't have to worry about layoffs, they wouldn't be affected by layoffs. Well, if the games were better, this wouldn't be happening.
Yes, it would. Yes, it would.
That's the part of this that I want to talk about today, okay? Layoffs in the games industry are also bad for you, the consumer, the gamer. Voice actors in the games industry being replaced with AI is also bad for you, the gamer, the consumer. Being supportive of layoffs or of artists being replaced is just so shooting yourself in the face. It's so hard to fathom people thinking this way, but let me present my case. I believe the games industry, an industry that I love and have worked in for numerous years at this point, to be extremely greedy. That does not happen at a game developer level, that happens at a publisher level. The game developers themselves do not come across as greedy to me in any capacity. The publishers come across as greedy. And I quite strongly believe, again, I've been in the games industry for, like, if you total it, including games journalism, 12 years now, I think? 13 years? It's a long time. It's a lot of my life. Layoffs will not give you better video games. Layoffs is removing people who have a ton of experience, who know how to execute a product better, who know how to produce things faster, who know how to solve problems faster, who have experience dealing with the many complicated intricacies that come along with game development. That experience, some of these people have 20 years experience. That was senior staff laid off at Bungie. That experience is irreplaceable. A lot of those people are going to leave the games industry permanently. We will never get that back. Where Game Informer is concerned, there was so much reporting that will not be replaced anywhere. Where AI is concerned, it doesn't matter how good AI gets. It is my firm belief that the industry will give you the cheapest version of things possible so long as you accept them. You, the consumer. What they will do for as long as they can, as incrementally as they can, are edging closer and closer and closer to being able to make much cheaper games with more microtransactions. You're seeing so much push towards live service games, even if they're unsuccessful, right? The Suicide Squad, Killer Justice League, that game was considered to be unsuccessful, and yet WB is still talking about how they want to make more games like that. Replacing voice actors with AI has absolutely nothing to do with the quality of the voice actors. It has to do with the fact that they are slightly more expensive than something that can be replicated, usually in a much worse way, actually every time in a much worse way, but for cheaper. It has nothing to do with how good people are or are not at their jobs. It has to do with knowing that you, the consumer, will still buy and accept things that are of worse quality and them not caring because it's cheaper. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is not about Destiny 2 being bad. I've had many a criticism of things that have happened in Destiny 2, to be clear. The final shape was great. Imagine working so hard on the final shape and then being laid off, even though you just worked so hard on something that players really fucking liked. That's sort of the point. The quality of the games is objectively going to get worse. You have a less experienced staff. You have less staff. You have less resources to make a good video game. You literally have a smaller budget. Where AI is concerned, they do not care about AI being better than actors. It has nothing to do with thinking AI can do a better job than actors. It's to do with the games industry thinking that you won't give a shit and you'll buy it anyway. That you, as a gamer, will not care about how poor the quality can get. You will buy the thing anyway. Because they told you to, and they're really good at marketing, and gamers are really easy to hype up. You keep pre-ordering the game. What happens here is that quality only gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Because they think you'll keep buying it anyway. Voice actors are not being replaced by AI because they're bad at their jobs. One voice line is a whole person's life worth of experience goes into even delivering one line. It is a human performance, informed by human emotion, informed by somebody's memories and things they've felt. And they're picturing a person they love when delivering a romantic line, or picturing the dog they lost when delivering a sad line. That is a wealth of a human experience that goes into presenting those emotions to you in a video game. There is so much value in that. And no, I do not believe that AI can replicate that. Of course it can't. But the point is, even if it could, that's not why the publishers are choosing to do it. They don't think that AI can replace a good voice performance. That's not what they care about. They just care that you don't give a shit. So for every time you leave a comment saying, good, they deserved it, or who cares, AI is going to be better anyway, you are basically asking for a worse product. You are telling these companies that you're okay with a worse product. Anyone who argues in favor of AI overtaking writers and is like, well, the writers are shit anyway, or the artists, or the voice actors, you are just giving these companies permission to give you worse quality products. That is what you are saying. And maybe they'll do it gradually or slowly. But the more that you're okay with it, the worse shit you're going to get. Layoffs are also bad for gamers. Mindlessly accepting AI is bad for gamers. It is a step that leads to a slippery slope of, oh, interesting, what else can we replace without gamers caring? And this is just me coming from the angle of like, hey, the products are going to get shittier and shittier and shittier. Especially if you tell them you don't mind and frankly you're okay with it and that you agree humans are too expensive. Give me the worst version of the product. I'll consume all of it. It's also just, I've said this before, here's my stance on AI. I am not anti-AI across the board. We already use AI all the time in video games. I'm using AI and talking to you right now. My background is not actually blurry. I'm using AI to do that. I just feel like if you're consuming products that aren't even being made by humans, that a human is not telling the story or performing the story or making the art or doing the writing, it's just mindless corporate products. There is no human influence. What the fuck is the point? You may as well just be playing a game that's a series of numbers that you can just click something on, and what do you even need the experience for? Like, at least the structure that we have now, that the industry is trying to cling to and hold on to, and is openly very sad about, is publishers who have a shit ton of money giving money to creatives. Like, at least that's the setup we currently have. Multi-million-dollar corporations give money to little tiny baby companies, in comparison, who are full of creative people who really care about making creative shit. And sure, there's wars all the time, and the publisher tells them, oh, they have to put microtransactions in, or they have to make it a live service game, or you have to do this amount of things because that's what the market says, that the creatives will fight against, but ultimately lose a lot of those fights. But at least you have those creatives who are really trying, across the board always, to give you something worth playing. I promise you, every game dev cares a lot about video games. And every actor cares about giving you the best performance that they possibly can. The publishers, the more that you're okay with people being laid off or people being replaced or jobs being cut and you don't give a shit and you share no sympathy for that, are gonna, as quickly as they fucking can, into the, well, they don't care, let's just give them whatever mindless garbage says will make us more money. That's how you get more games with microtransactions. That's how you get all of the stuff that you claim to hate. I don't get it. I know that I'm probably talking to a small minority when saying this, but I promise you that the more that you allow publishers or even support publishers in replacing creatives or even just getting rid of creatives, the more they are going to take from you also. Games aren't going to get cheaper. They're not going to cost less. They're still going to go up in price. They're just going to become worse quality. They're going to have smaller budgets and thus be less impressive. And it's also just not that quality of the games matters because of the way that the system functions. Making profit isn't enough. You have to make double the profit you made last year. That's the way that capitalism is set up. You have to make more profit. So it's not like you can just make a good game that a lot of people like and a lot of people bought. You have to make a game that is like almost infinitely sustainable, and it's competing against FIFA/EAFC Ultimate Team, the ultimate money printing machine. Everything has to make Ultimate Team with Ultimate Pack's amount of money at this point. You can have a team who has made the best thing in the world with every effort that they have, and it doesn't matter. It's just never enough money. It always has to be more money. And they will cut corners every step of the way that they can, and it will hurt you, but especially if you allow them to. It's just the weirdest kind of corporate bootlicking. I don't get it. Workers want to give you high quality things. That's really all they care about. Publishers want to cut corners as much as possible while making more money from putting in as little money as possible. Which of these things are you going to side with? You know what I mean?